Hello, welcome back to Sweet Nothings Crochets videos. Today we're gonna make this really lovely baby cap for a shelled baby cap for a baby. Shelled baby cap is always for a baby. Um, it's a really beautiful stitch, and as you can see, you just basically make it into like a rectangle, and then you'll do up the top. Okay. So today I am using this Ganga Agro Wool's Spectrum yarn. It's a beautiful multicolored yarn, and as I'm making this for a little girl, I thought this yarn is just right. So we start with a foundation single crochet row, which is in multiples of 4. Once you've done this, you have to ensure that you keep this flat and then join the slip stitch to your first stitch. And now you have a circle, so everything that you work in will just work in rounds. To start with chain 1 and a single crochet in that first stitch. You'll miss the next stitch, and in the following stitch you work 4 DC. Skip the next stitch and work a single crochet in the following stitch. You'll skip the next stitch and work 4 DC in the following stitch. Now, as you figured, our 4 DC is the shell stitch, which will give you the shelled effect for our baby cap. This cap does not necessarily have to mean I'm making it here for a baby, for a 4-year-old, but you do not need to make it just for kids. This pattern is so lovely, you can even make it for an adult. So all we're doing is working 4 double crochet in one stitch, skipping the next stitch, working a single crochet there, skipping the next stitch and working 4 double crochet. Right, so now how do you calculate how many FSC or the foundation single crochet that you need? So you work in multiples of 4, and you need to work that first row of foundation single crochet or FSC required for the circumference of the child or the adult's head. Now pay attention to the fact that your yarn as well as the tension with which you work both afford a little bit of stretch. So depending on the amount of stretch that you get, that's the length that you'd make of that first row. So let's assume now you want about, like for this I needed 20 inches. I worked 18 inches, giving the last 2 inches for the stretch of the yarn as well as the looseness of the work with which I'm working, and it works out just right. In whichever yarn you're working, after you've done about 2 or 3 inches lesser than the actual number required, just pull the yarn, pull your FSC chain, hold it against a measure tape, and just check that it works. The length works. It shouldn't be stretched so much that it's going to be a tight fit against the head. All caps need to have a little bit of a play, right? This beautiful stitch pattern also gives a very good stretch to the thing, and it'll actually fit a little snugly against the head. So ensure that you don't work too tight. That first row should not be too tight because we do not actually increase anything after that first row. That first row is the one that goes around the forehead of the child or the adult for whom you're working. Alright? So you just work all the stitches, your shell stitches, all the way around. 4 DC, skip 1 stitch, work a single crochet in the next stitch, skip the next stitch, work a single crochet in the next stitch. You'll do this all around till you come to the start, And then you just attach with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Not too much to go, we're almost done. 4 DC, single crochet, 4 DC. We've got about 2 more of these to do. We're at the second last. Three, 4, skip that last and slip stitch into that first single crochet. To start, I just work 1 turning chain, and then you have to work 4 DC into that first single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you'll skip the next 2 DC and work in the space between the 2 DC. That's 1, 2. That's the space in between. You work a single crochet there. You skip the next 2 DC and work 4 DC in the next single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip the next 2 DC. 1, 2, and you work in the space between the 2 DC. 1 single crochet there. Skip the next 2 and work 4 DC in the next single crochet. Skip the next 2 DC and work a single crochet in the space in between. Skip the next 2 single crochet and work 4 DC in the next single crochet. Do you see what we've done? So we could have actually done a space there, but I felt that it just looks lovely when it just has that stitch coming through, and it will show in the next row when you do. When you work the next row, you'll see what I mean. When it just goes through the stitches, it looks far better than having a chain space there. Also, I felt the chain space for a baby. They're looking for warmth in a bonnet or a cap, and this affords more warmth than does chain space and holes on your cap. So which is why I've opted for this. I wanted something which had the shell pattern and yet was nice and warm. 3, 4. 4 DC. This actually goes around quite fast, doesn't it? And if you see how it looks, and of course it looks even nicer because of the variegated yarn. But trust me, this pattern will look lovely even if you're not using multicolored yarn. See how it opens out? Doesn't it look absolutely gorgeous? Do remember to pause the video if you want to see what you need to do, or if you need to catch up with me. It's 4 DC. You're skipping 2 DCs of the next set and working a single crochet, and then working 4 DC in the next single crochet. Just 2 more to go. All right, we worked all around, and then you attach to the top of that first DC with a slip stitch. Now we need to go to that center point there and work your single crochet. All I have done is work one loose TC or a turning chain, a really loose one, and just go straight there and work a single crochet. That just wraps up there quietly. It won't even show on your next stitch, and you're done. Instead of doing all your slip stitches, just do that bit, and then you go back to doing the same thing all over again. So you're working 4 DC in every single crochet, then you'll skip the 2 DC and work a single crochet there in the middle, 4 DC in the next single crochet, skip the next 2 DC and work a single crochet there in the middle. Okay, and this basically is our pattern all the way till the end. See what I mean about that? I think it looks really cute, really lovely. It shows through better mainly because of the color, the variegated colors, you see, when it shows through. But I think it will show through anyway. After you've done a few rows, what I suggest you do is go to that first stitch, pass that yarn through, lock it up, and then weave in the ends. So now your ends are, the first row is done really neatly, and you will continue working this pattern all the way till you get the length or the height that you need for your cap. All right, so now that we've worked all the way till the top, you'll get something that looks like this, right? So that's your last stitch that you've done. You pass the yarn through and you pull it together, and you finish that off. Now with your yarn needle, all you've got to do is go in and out of every second stitch. So you go from the front to the back of the first stitch and come back to the front on the next one, and you just weave through all the way, all around. What we're then going to do is we're just going to pull this too, and you'll get a beautiful top to this, which we then finish off. So you're just weaving through, in and out, on that first row, just underneath the first set of stitches, okay? A few more stitches to go. Till you come to the first stitch, and then you just pull it too. You pull it all the way. There you can see my finger coming through. So you pull it all the way till you see nothing. And then you basically just run through the top of the stitches again, tightening as you go. We're just again working through those first round of stitches. So I finished one round, and I'm just going one round again, just to ensure that I've got it nice and tight, all firmly closed. Then what I like to do is I like to go under and do the same thing from the bottom. So here even at the bottom of my work, I like to be as neat because I like to keep it reversible if possible. After all, this is just a hat. So be as neat as you can. Pull the stitches nice and tight. If you're working with the same color, solid colors of yarn, it's a little easier because the color won't show through. With multicolored yarn, you need to be a little more careful. I'm working with green and you're going past purple, or you're going past pink. You should ensure that it doesn't show through, right? When you're done, you just pass, when you feel that it's secure enough, you just lock your yarn nice and tight, and then you'll snip that bit off. And there you have it, nice and tightly done, neat and finished. And you have a beautiful cap for little baby girl. How'd you like that? Neat, huh? Have a great creative day, and I'll see you soon.